Well, that got pretty real pretty quickly, didn't it, for us Ipswich Town fans? The Premier League fixtures were indeed released yesterday for 24-25 for double promotion winners Ipswich Town. What that means is that just over a year ago, Ipswich were lining up in League One, or just completed a campaign, going up against football luminaries such as Morecambe, Cheltenham, Forest Green, Accrington, etc. We knew the names were going to be a bit different, but would the fixture list allow Ipswich an easy way into the Premier League and maybe the opportunity to just get settled before the likes of Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool were going to be visiting town and going up against Ipswich? No. Basically, if you ask anyone who have been the two strongest forces in English football over the past decade, before Arsenal's rise under Arteta, you would say Liverpool and, of course, Manchester City. And Ipswich's first two games are against Liverpool and Manchester City, with Fulham making up August. You can see September there. Little bit better. Brighton, Southampton, Villa. Villa obviously finished very high last season, up in fourth. But Brighton and Southampton, Brighton are going to have a new manager in, and they're going to have an average season at some point, Brighton, and maybe they might have a slow start. Ipswich beat Southampton a couple of times. I'm ignoring the elephant in the room last season. I'm talking about Southampton. Man City and Liverpool. Look, I put a tweet out saying, what are your thoughts on this? People, some people are nice and they're like, well, look, you might get them at a good time at the start of the season. Obviously, you've got the normal spiteful people who don't like anybody to enjoy anything in life ever, saying, minus 20 goal difference and 0 points after the first two games. Look, obviously, nobody particularly wants to look forward to playing Man City and Liverpool, given what they tend to do to promoted teams. And let's be fair, most other teams in the Premier League. I have to say I'm looking on it as a negative. I'm not buying the I'll get them early in the season thing, because my hope for Ipswich going into this season was a fast start in respects of you've got momentum from promotion. I remember Sheffield United under Wilder, Leeds under Bielsa are two examples of teams where it had frankly been a great managerial job that had got them out of the Championship rather than necessarily having the best team, the best funding, etc., etc. And I remember both those squads. Someone will correct me in the comments. I do remember them getting a couple of wins before the end of September, and then you get above that point per game and you can try and ride out that momentum whilst other people are sort of struggling to get going around you in the Premier League. So would I rather have dotted Man City into maybe October and then Liverpool later? Yeah, probably. But look, let's be positive, get them out the way early on, and then nothing until January in terms of those two particular teams. Obviously, we've got to factor Arsenal in. But look, it's going to be a tough start. And okay, Liverpool have a new manager and a new era, and there might be some teething problems post-Klopp. That could be an opportunity on the TV, especially with it being at Portman Road. That's better than it being at Anfield, I guess. But still, come on. It's Liverpool and Man City, and anything from those first two games will be a bit of a bonus. But can Ipswich get a win in there? And I'm looking at Fulham, Brighton, or Southampton. Maybe. Look, let's be quite frank. If the Premier League plays out like it did last season, then none of the promoted teams have got a hope, and we should all just give up anyway. But we're hoping that is not going to be the case. And last season was a bit of an outlier with the three teams that went up coming straight back down. What I will say is you want a bit more of a mix than you got last season of teams beating each other. And honestly, if you took the points deductions away from Forest and Everton, what was it? It would be Brentford, but they were 13 points ahead of the bottom three anyway. So it was just a complete slam dunk, massive gap, cliff edge there. Hopefully, the fact that Leicester and Southampton have bounced straight back, and they were 11 and 8 seasons both in the Premier League, means that maybe they'll adjust and won't be quite such whipping boys. But yeah, some big gaps in the Premier League. And I think fans of all the teams who are promoted are hoping that that gigantic gap, if you remove the points deductions of 13 points, isn't there. Going into October and November, I mean, you've got West Ham, who were just about in the top half. Everton, who knows what will happen there in terms of off the pitch stuff, but strong on the pitch, you have to say, in spite of the points deductions. Brentford is one that if the trend continues, the promoted teams will be targeting. Brentford maybe sort of resetting. And then another of the promoted teams there, Leicester. Will they or won't they get points deduction? We will see. Still got a load of quality in their squad as we go into November. Spurs and Manchester United is hard. And then you do have another bottom four side there in Nottingham Forest. But Nottingham Forest are establishing themselves. Now, this will be season 3 in the Premier League team. And they, despite the fact they've been around the bottom and not necessarily circling the drain, their fans will see, oh, can you now become an established Premier League team? This is where it gets really interesting for Ipswich, because this is where you get the grind that they're more used to, rather than the, just a few games each month. If you've come from the EFL, you're used to playing 7 or 8 games sometimes in a month when you factor in other commitments. That's what you get in December. And look, home games against Palace and Bournemouth. Okay, again, yep, they're established Premier League clubs now. Bournemouth have, we can say the same thing about Forest, and Palace seem to have been there forever. But can you take something at home? Wolves surprised me last season. We'll see how they go next season. It's hard over Christmas, isn't it? Look at that. Newcastle, Arsenal and Chelsea, who, Newcastle was 7th and Chelsea was 6th, but are all going to be targeting the top 6. Going to be interesting where those cliff edges are, though, because if Chelsea and Manchester United improve, you can't have this scenario that we got last season where the top 3 are miles away. They were all beating the next layer of teams, who are all beating the next layer of teams, and everybody was beating the bottom 3. So hopefully it straightens out. If we can remove at least 1, maybe 2 of those giant gaps in the Premier League table, then we might get a more even points distribution. Into January, it's Fulham and Brighton again, very similar to the start of the season. That's not the worst thing in the world. And then Man City and Liverpool back to back again. And you just hope you don't get 2 shellackings from them, and you can, God forbid you can get something, but, confidence building, morale, and all of that good stuff. February and March, there's another promoted team there, Southampton, Villa and Spurs. Again, we don't know what Man United and Chelsea and Newcastle are going to do. Whether Villa and Spurs are going to end up a little layer further down in the table, who knows? Manchester United. March, only 2 games in there, Palace and Forest. And you wonder if Ipswich Town are in a big relegation fight. These are the times where, can you score 4 points in 2? Can you, by God, win back-to-back games? Who the hell knows? April, Bournemouth and Wolves come, and then, look, it's hard. Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, again, top 3 sides. Top 6 sides probably is going to be the hope for all of those. And Arsenal, will they still be in a title race? They normally are at that point in the season on the basis of the past couple of years. Interestingly for Ipswich, and this is what a lot of people have flagged up, despite the hard start, Everton, Brentford, Leicester in May. Everton 15th last season. Okay, points deductions. Brentford 16th. Leicester obviously weren't in the Premier League. And then you got West Ham on the last day, and everyone always tells me during the run-in, well, you don't want a team at the bottom. You don't want a team at the top. You want a team in the middle who's already sure of where they're going to finish. And that might well be West Ham. But again, we'll see with their new managerial change to Lopetegui this season. So look, obviously, it's very easy to sit here and say it looks pretty daunting. It seems pretty straightforward to say that there's a maybe okay run-in if you're in a position to leverage that towards the end of the season. I'm a bit disappointed at the start, I've got to say. Kieran McKenna and Mark Ashton were saying it's brilliant, it's great to play Liverpool on the TV in the first game, but you want those couple of wins early, and it looks like they may have to wait at least a couple of games. Let me know your thoughts on Ipswich Town's return, the fixture release. How have the fixtures gone for your team? And how hard is that opening couple of games going to be for Town?